As spawning in the top right-hand corner of Hecate, we have the South Korean Terran player. We have the blue Terran representing Team Vitality. It is Ryung. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the red Zerg player. It is YoungYakov. And if you're in the chat, predictions are now open. Place your bets on who you think will claim the series. Best of luck in the chat. Coming into this, I will say that this should be a closer one. Taija was favored against Demi. Lemon was favored against MinoVK. Here are Ryung and YoungYakov. I do favor Ryung. I do lean towards Ryung here, but we'll see how our players will approach this. Ryung, he's willing to play mech. He's willing to spice things up. Especially in the current meta, mech has been more viable, of course. Seeing it everywhere. Do we see it here? So now we get into our standard. This is no crazy 2-rank Reaper or 3-rank Reaper. Here, just hatch gas pull into ranks expand. When it comes to YoungYakov's play, he has been typically very standard in this play. He hasn't really been one to embrace, say, mutas too much. I want to say Wayne dips into muta play a little bit more than YoungYakov. In saying that, I haven't really seen too much of YoungYakov in recent weeks, and we have had a meta shift in ZVT. I'm referring to, of course, DreamHack Dallas, right? Post-DreamHack Dallas, we've seen most, if not all, Zerg players start playing Roach into Ultra Tech. It has been very standard and very meta, but I don't know if YoungYakov has also embraced that. We're going to find out. Ooh, as the Reaper's in position. Nice block, nice analysis. The drone does get denied. SCV towards the left, Reaper towards the right. YoungYakov cannot expand. A brutal start here for Ryung. As Ryung does deny the base. Oh no, he comes back. No! Oh my god. Does force out another gas geyser. Second Reaper has arrived, one for each side. Lane speed is still on the way. And this is actually getting out of hand. This is becoming a bit too much. YoungYakov now moves out. Finally, YoungYakov can expand. But again, that is a very late third base for the Zerg. It's going to slow down the economy. Slow down the production. Slow down everything. Slow it all down. From here, Ryung getting to a 3cc into Starport, so economic opener here out of Ryung. Third CC before Starport, into a 1-1-1 into Banshee play. To Cloak Banshee. So everything looking standard. Everything looking normal so far. Reality does threaten the base. No way in. Also no saturation. Like again, the droning here has been very delayed for YoungYakov. So it's been a very shaky start. It does go for a double Evo chamber as a follow-up. This is very greedy. This is heading into a longer game state. Basically, YoungYakov delays his lair and he delays his Baneling Nest in favor of upgrades. So quite a greedy move here from YoungYakov. We'll see if he can get away with it. This does mean that, again, his Baneling speed timing is going to be delayed. which can come into play for the 7-minute move out. As Ryung, he's going for the double eBay behind this as well, after the Raxes. There are builds where you go for double eBay even faster. If we saw that, then it would lead into an 8-Rax, into a 3-base all-in, with a 2-2 timing. But I don't believe that's happening here. As we attempt to dive on the queens, with the queens they can hold their own. No detection! Uh-oh, free damage. Yeah, free damage on the queens, and one queen is going to go down. Gets one. Should get two. Oh, there's no lair, right? Because, yeah, no. It's all playing into itself. There's no lair because of the double eBay. Because of the double eBay chamber even. So the range is just getting free damage. Lings will defend. But those were some rough losses. Losing 2 queens. Thankfully, Ryung did overextend with the Hellions. So Yakov, he survives. Behind this, we're rushing into an infestation, but okay, this is indicative of Ling Bane into Ultra. I say Ling Bane, do you see what I see? I see no Bailey Nest. This is looking like the Raynor style of play. I wasn't sure if anyone else had tried to adopt it. Basically, if you've been watching Raynor recently in ZBT, he's been having some very mixed results, that's me being generous there, by going for this style. Going Ling into Ultra. And specifically, you skip Banelings, you skip Roaches. I think you still get some safety infestors, but the goal is to rush into Hive and rush into Ultra Tech. I say that it has some mixed results. This is basically an alternative way to get into Ultras compared to the standard way, which is just Roaches, where you go Roaches into Ling Bane Roach Ravager, or into Ling Roach Infestor, then into Ultra Tech. By skipping out on Roaches, this army is a lot more fragile. It's a lot more fragile to the main army move outs. But it's also greedier. It also allows for faster tech, faster hive, faster ultras, slightly. So this is very risky, and YoungYakov is very reliant on surrounds, very reliant on infestors and fungal growths. Ryung, he does move out, clearing up creep. His tanks are sieging. Thanks to siege, rocks, they just ensure that Ryung cannot get surrounded. Things they try to collapse in, but they cannot. Yeah, they cannot. Where's the infestor, by the way? I believe we had one. That's at home. The infestor's not with the main army. Lings are going for a massive counterattack. And we're going for the base trade. So Lings ate the 3rd base. Ryung is just going for the kill. We need that infestor. We need that. Without a fungal, we cannot defend. Heavy Zergling goes down. There we go, the infestor now added to the main army control group. Things they don't get the tank. Oh no, it's Dust Knight with the infestors, still down to 1. And at this point it looks like it's too late. Even if we land a fungal, there's no follow-up. Like there's nothing to support the infestors. Ryung, he just tanks the fungal. He just tanks it. And he does it. He breaks through. GG gets called. Ryung, he will snowball out of control, and Ryung, he will take game number 1. GG. GG will play a very solid game out of Ryung. Meanwhile, from YoungYakov, again, I'm still not convinced by this style. Even Raynor struggles with this style as well. When I say this style, I'm referring specifically to the build of going Lings, skipping Banelings, skipping Roaches, and going Ling into Hive, into Infestor, into Ultra. It's very, very difficult to pull off. I do feel like you have to be reliant on your opponents being a little bit more passive, or at least like faking aggression and trying to force your opponent to be more defensive. But otherwise, it's so difficult to stop a Terran player like that and to stop a push. GG will play it. I mean, it also didn't help that despite having the infestor, it was just chilling back at home for most of that fight. So it didn't help either. But here we go. getting a game number 2 and spawning in the top right corner of Tokamak. We have the South Korean Terran player, we have the blue Terran representing Team Vitality. It is Ryung. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have the red Zero player himself. Down in the series, we'll see mounts back. It is YoungYakov. But again, Ryung, he also had just a really strong start. It didn't just come down to the build of choice of the style, but also if you remember, Ryung, he heavily delayed the third base of YoungYakov, which again also was brutal. We saw that Ryung, he was also able to punish the late lair as his Banshees were able to kill and snipe extra queens. There was a lot going Ryung's way, and Ryung, as we load into Tokamak, CC first. Let's go. Again, CC first is a little bit more viable on these larger maps. It can leave you vulnerable here to early roach aggression and early roach timings, but if you can assume that your opponent's going to play standard, then sure, you can get away with a CC first. So a greedier build here from our Terran. The downside, of course, is delayed racks production, delayed factory production. But if your opponent's not being aggressive and not going for an all-in, then you're safe. Going to be safe. The other downside, of course, is late Reaper, which means late Reaper scouts. Ryung, he also did not SCV scout either. So as we mentioned before, like going for a roach all-in would excel against this kind of build. But YoungYakov's playing standard. So just hatch gas pool into the eventual third at a much cleaner timing. And from here, we're just keeping an eye open for... Oh, hello. Hello, Mr. Roachhorn. Curious here. So the Overlord did get eyes on the CC, the fact that it's already finishing up. I'm curious if, I mean, he saw also no SV Scout, no Reaper Scout either, so he knows. Yeah, he knows it was CC first, which means YoungYakov, his response here is to go for Roach Aggression, which is a good response. His goal here is to punish his opponent for the lack of scouting. Third CC is on the way. Oh, and we're going to be attempting mech. The problem here, all in. Again, YoungYakov is just going for the all in. This is the correct thing to do against ACC first. And there's going to be nothing. If it was a standard opener, we could see like attempted tank production or Banshees. Banshees would help a lot here, but there's not going to be anything. There's not going to be anything here as we have Raxes on the way. We have purely production, and here comes YoungYakov. The all-in hasn't spotted, the all-in has been confirmed. Ryung, he evacuates the natural. I mean, he cannot fight at the natural base. Things already busted in, SCVs are going down, and YoungYakov is here to end the game. He's here to end the game. Breaks through the front door. Again, Hellions, they just tickle roaches. Ay, ay, ay. And essentially, this is a build order win. Build order win here for YoungYakov. I say that the Marauder has arrived, though the Marauder will help. Again, as we mentioned, Ryung, unfortunately, he had zero scouting information as to what was going on, just far too greedy, and he was even going into mech behind this, not a Banshee. Oof. Lings this around the Marauder, and there's nothing here. GG gets called, and YoungYakov does tie the series up 1-1. We're going to the ace match. GG. GG, well played. Again, just really greedy play there out of Ryung, and really nice response out of YoungYakov to punish. Now, it wasn't just about the opener, and it wasn't just about the response. It also helps that Ryung, he went for a mech behind it as well. Typically, in that kind of game state, you would have a starport with a tech lab with Banshee production, and Banshees do help greatly against that sort of all-in. Likewise, if Ryung was able to move out with his first set of Hellions, then he would have actually seen that an all-in was coming his way, but he didn't, so he had no scouting as a follow-up either, so he didn't see what was coming, which means he had no bunker. He had no defensive setup at the top of the ramp. But that would typically be how you respond, is to wall up on top of the ramp and just abandon your natural base, lift it up, evacuate, and pull off that defense. But Ryung had no vision. He saw nothing. And here we go, we're getting into game 3, and we'll see how this story ends. We'll see. At spawning in the top left-hand corner of Golden Aura, we have the South Korean Terran player. We have the blue Terran representing Team Vitality. It is Ryung. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the red Zerg player, tying up the series 1-1. It is YoungYakov. And again, Ryung just punished for his hyper greed last game. He was punished. And Ryung, I'm sure, is going to be a little more tempered coming into Golden Aura. Golden Aura, it's also been a while. It's been like a year or like, what, a season since we have embraced this map. Maybe 2 seasons at this point. But Golden Aura, of course, is one of the larger maps in the map pool. Longer rush distance by grounds, and a relatively secure 4-base setup, thanks to the ramps. We do often see a lot of late game on Golden Aura because of that, or we saw a lot of late game on Golden Aura. We'll see if that's applicable here as well. Likewise, because of the narrow entrances here into the natural, into the 3rd base, we have seen a lot of gasless openers out of Zerg players, but that is not going to be the case for YoungYakov. YoungYakov playing standard. Maybe we're scouting sometimes when going mech. I mean, it's one of those things where if YoungYakov was playing standard, then Ryung would have been fine. It's not just mech, it's a combination of going for a CC first and mech as well, right? Because of the CC first, there was no SCV scout and there was no Reaper scout, so like, just hyper greed from Ryung. And again, good response by YoungYakov. Fungal nerf coming in clutch. As a reminder, the build that YoungYakov was going for in game 1 is just really risky, really difficult to actually make work, and even Rainer struggles with it. Which is why I'm not too fond of the builds. I'm not too fond of going pure Ling into Ultra. In my opinion, it's a little bit much. Like, the stars have to align too much to actually make that work. And we have seen it work, it's just difficult. Here we go. From here, we're just going to be building up. Ryung is going for a 3rd CC before starport. We do have our standard economic opener here out of Ryung. So Ryung is going to be punished. Behind this very fast layer. Okay. That is a, what, 3:35 layer timing? Very early here from YoungYakov. With the early layer timing, this can lead into a couple of different things. This can lead into, say, a Ling Queen all-in. This can lead into a Ling Queen Nidus all-in. This can lead into 2 base Muta. We'll keep an eye on the gases here. 2 gases is enough to make a Nidus Worm. We'll see if we go up to 3. We'll see if we go up to 4. So we'll keep an eye on the gas count. Link speed was researched. And no Overlord speed. If there was Overlord speed, then I would assume Link Queen drop Lord all in. No Overlord speed. We do have an Overlord here on the right hand side. The main base is relatively large, and yep, Nidus. So again, 2 gases, Nidus all in does make plenty of sense. We have the Overlord here outside of the main base. We have an Overlord here outside of the natural. It's all or nothing for YoungYakov. Go. Going for the Bailey Nest here is kind of weird. The game should not last long enough to get into bailing speed, so we're going to have some slow bailing supports, which can help, I guess. It's a way to spend the gas. But again, it's all or nothing. Ryung, he has limited vision. He has not confirmed. But these Lings are going to be thrown away. They deny some mining. They force an overreaction. Here we go, Nidus into the main base. Bange is in position, and Ryung, he will defend. He shuts down the first Nidus. Nice positioning with the Hellions. Hellions, they roast up the Lings. And Yakov is bleeding out a lot early on. Lings, they peel off into the mineral line, into the bases. Nidus is going to be denied. Lings, they can get a couple of SCV kills here, but it's going to be worth it for Ryung. As Ryung did focus on the Nidus, and that's a win condition. Just deny the Nidus worms over and over again. One Nidus will finally get up and running. Bailing speed has just begun. Again, I don't see it really factoring in, but sure. It's on the way. It's coming. Back up Nidus into the main. Banshee to respond. That's a lot of queens. Now, as the game goes on, we're building up more tanks, right? The tank count is building up. Ryung hasn't lost too much. You can see Yakov getting ready for the main bust. How many tanks so far? 0. The first tank is still on the way. And Yakov is joining. Ooh, he is joining up. So this tells us that Yakov, he believes he cannot kill Ryung. He cannot kill him, and I would agree. At this point, it's just taken too long. This does mean that, I mean, now we have a follow-up, now we have bailing speed. The problem, though, is that YoungYakov, this was an all-in. And even though he has something, oh god, Jesus. As bailings are shut down, they do not break down the front door. But the problem being here is that YoungYakov, he's down in workers, down in economy, down in bases. Sure, he's getting a 4th base, but Ryung can soon expand. And more importantly, the upgrades. 0-0. 0-0 upgrades here for YoungYakov. Meanwhile, 1-1 is soon going to kick in, and Ryung can move out with the upgrade lead. So Yakov has a lot of catching up to do. Oh, there's no spores. Oh, God. So far, just keeping the queens at bay. One Banshee does go down. Nice snipe. Nice snipe for the Banshee. Ryung pulls away. Ryung establishes his own 3rd base. I would say it's really crucial here that these Nidus Worms slow down Ryung and keep him busy. So there is a way for YoungYakov to recover in this game. It's not going to be easy, but he has to make sure that Ryung stays home for as long as possible. Also, I do like the idea of potentially taking up into lurkers before any upgrades. Again, the gas income is very limited right now for YoungYakov. He's getting Hydra upgrades though, he's not getting a lurker den. If we were to rush into lurkers, then you could just slow the game down and buy time. But even then, it'll be difficult. Like, even then, the den would not be done by now. As Ryung is stepping in, Splitting into Meilings, he spreads well, and Ryung, he should overwhelm. As Meilings, they crash into Hellbats of all things. Ryung, he breaks through the main army, cleans up all the Lings, all the Meilings, all the Queens. GG gets called as YoungYakov's all-in failed, and Ryung moves out, hits with 1-1. GG. GG, well played. As Ryung, he will claim the series. Again, there's a reason why we call it an all-in, is because you're all in. When it fails, you are so far behind, and it is so difficult to recover. As you mentioned, if YoungYakov was able to find a way to keep Ryung busy at home, whether it comes down to Nihilus Swarms, Link counterattacks, not committing, not throwing away too much, but just threatening the bases, then potentially you can buy enough time to try to recover, but you'd have to cut corners in other ways. But alas, he was unable to do that. Nihilus Swarms were dealt with, and Ryung did snowball out of control. GG. GG, well played. With that, we are now getting into our 4th series. Ryung does claim the series here, does take down YoungYakov, but I appreciate that we had a back and forth. You know, Ryung, he was punished for his greed in game number 2, so at least he had to respect YoungYakov there when it comes to trying to cut too many corners. But that leads us into our 4th best of 1. Let's go. Let us go. Again, 4 out of 8, so we got a lot to get through today. We got a lot to get through, but we're going to be jumping into a PvP between Art and Ziomek. Let's go. We're going to have some Polish on Polish action.